All right, let's be real for a sec. Who hasn't lost an hour scrolling through pet photos online?
I know I have.
Right. And it kind of makes you think, what if I could hang out with these furry guys all day, every day?
Yeah, the dream job, pet sitting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But is it actually all sunshine, snuggles, and adorable Instagram pics? Today, we're doing a deep dive into RoleCatcher's career guide on becoming a pet sitter to see if it lives up to the hype.
Well, one thing's for sure, it's definitely not just playing with puppies, even though that's a big part of the appeal.
So there's more to it than like remembering treat time and where the good scratching post is.
Way more. RoleCatcher's guide makes it clear this is a multifaceted job with some real responsibility baked in.
Oh, like what?
We're talking dog walking, yeah, but also home boarding, even driving animals to appointments.
Huh. That's more involved than I pictured.
And that means being ready for anything. You might have to monitor their health, give medication.
Seriously.
Oh, yeah. Or even handle emergencies. RoleCatcher actually has a whole thing about a pre-visit checklist.
What's that for?
So you and the owners are on the same page about, like, behavioral quirks. Especially if a pet's got a history of, being a bit much.
Makes sense. You don't want to walk into a situation unprepared. But speaking of situations, the guide also mentions all the good stuff. Setting your own hours, choosing your rates, maybe even starting your own pet sitting business. Is that the reality or just wishful thinking?
It's definitely possible, but like with any job, gotta be realistic, right?
So no more 9-to-5 grind, but maybe a different kind of hustle.
Exactly. RoleCatcher really emphasizes that income can be all over the place, especially at the beginning.
Because you're finding your footing, building up those clients.
Right. It takes a time, so having a plan, maybe even some savings to fall back on, is huge.
Smart. So let's say someone's just starting out, head full of puppy love, but no fancy credentials yet. What's step one?
RoleCatcher is big on this experience, and you don't need a fancy title to get it. Pet sit for friends, family, even volunteering at a shelter counts.
Hands-on experience, that's what matters.
Exactly. Builds skills, confidence, and it shows future clients you're serious.
Okay, but what about standing out? There are tons of animal lovers out there. The guide mentions certifications. Are those a big deal?
Huge. Even something like pet first aid and CPR can make a difference. Shows you're committed to their well-being.
Makes sense. Clients would feel better knowing you've got those skills, just in case.
And platforms like RoleCatcher, they often highlight those certs on your profile, so you pop up more.
Good to know. Speaking of RoleCatcher, the guide mentions they use AI to help people find jobs, even in a hands-on field, like pet sitting. Now, I'm picturing robots walking dogs. Is that what we're talking about?
Not robots yet, anyway. But you're onto something with the whole technology angle. AI is changing how we look for jobs, even in pet sitting.
Okay, now I'm really curious. How does AI actually work in the context of finding a pet sitting gig? Does it write your cover letter while you're busy scooping kibble?
That's a great question, and it ties into one of RoleCatcher's most interesting features.
That's a great question, and it ties into one of RoleCatcher's most interesting features.
It's how they use AI to, analyze and tailor your resume.
Okay, so not robot dog walkers, but robot resume writers. I can get behind that.
Exactly. So say you're applying for this pet sitting job, right? Instead of using the same old resume, you can plug the job description into RoleCatcher.
And the AI does its magic.
Yeah. It figures out exactly what the employer's looking for, all those keywords and skills, and then helps you tweak your resume so it's like a perfect match.
So it's like having a secret weapon, making sure you stand out even before you've met the client or their pet.
Exactly. Gives you a real edge, especially with so many people wanting to work with animals these days.
It's a competitive world out there, even for dog walkers.
Yeah.
But let's get back to actually building your business. Let's say you've got some experience, you've got your certifications, and your RoleCatcher profile is all set. What are some of the things that make a pet sitter really stand out? The things that make them the top dog, so to speak?
It's often those little extra things, RoleCatcher talks about going above and beyond just the basics. Like, don't just feed the cat and go. Send the owner updates, maybe some cute pictures.
Like a pet sitter postcard. Having a great time. Wish you were here.
Exactly. Or even just a quick note about how their pet's doing. It shows you care.
Those personal touches go a long way. But what about when things don't go as planned? The guide mentions handling emergencies. What kind of stuff should pet sitters be ready for?
Emergencies, well, they can be anything, really. Could be the pet gets into something they shouldn't, or their behavior changes suddenly. Sometimes it's even an unexpected injury.
So you need to be ready for anything.
Yeah, the main thing is to stay calm, see what's going on, and know what to do.
It's like being a pet detective as well as a pet sitter.
Yeah.
What does RoleCatcher say about those moments when you're like, what do I do?
First thing, always tell the owner right away. They also suggest keeping a list of emergency numbers handy.
Vet, emergency clinic, all that.
Exactly. You don't want to be searching for those when every second counts.
Makes sense. The guide also mentioned something called like niche specialization as a way to stand out. What does that even mean for a pet sitter?
It's about figuring out what makes you different. What's your thing? Maybe you're amazing with anxious dogs, or maybe you have experience with more unusual pets.
So you become the go-to person for those special cases.
Right. Or maybe you offer extra services like basic grooming, pet massage, even giving medicine if the pet needs it.
Now that you mention medication, it makes me think about the physical side of pet sitting. The guide touches on that a bit, right?
Yeah.
What do they say about handling the more physical demands of the job?
It's true. It can be pretty physical. I mean, imagine walking a bunch of high-energy dogs or trying to keep up with a kitten.
Imagine walking a bunch of high-energy dogs or trying to keep up with a kitten.
Oh.
RoleCatcher doesn't go into detail about specific workouts, but I bet comfy shoes are a must-have for any pet sitter's toolkit.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Comfortable shoes are a must. The guide even mentions that, being dressed for all kinds of weather.
Makes sense. Can't exactly predict the weather or when nature will call.
Exactly. And it reminds pet sitters to, think about their limits, especially when you're dealing with, bigger dogs or a whole bunch of pets at once.
Right, because it's easy to get carried away when you're surrounded by furry friends.
Totally. Pacing yourself, taking breaks, even just stretching a bit, it can really make a difference in the long run, prevent burnout, keep you going.
Definitely. Can't pour from an empty cup, right? And speaking of resources, we've talked a lot about RoleCatcher and what they have to offer, but how does someone actually, dive in? Is it just for pet sitting or what?
Think of it like this. It's like a Swiss Army knife for your career,
Yeah.
They have tons of stuff on different jobs, not just pet sitting, but for that field specifically. They've really gone all out.
In a good way.
Oh, yeah, in a good way. Their career guides, like the one we're talking about, break things down really well. Skills you need, different paths you can take, even how much you can expect to make. It's a great starting point.
So whether you're just curious about pet sitting or ready to hang up your day job shingle, it's worth checking out.
Definitely. It helps you get real about what to expect, because like we said, it's not all playtime and cuddles.
Although there's definitely a lot of that from what we've learned. But before we wrap up, one more thing about those above and beyond things that make a pet sitter really special. We touched on it earlier, but I'm curious to hear what really stands out to you.
Honestly, I think it's about truly caring, paying attention to those little details. Each pet is different. They have their own thing going on. And when you can tap into that, make them feel comfortable, loved.
Like you're their home away from home.
Yeah, exactly. And those little touches, sending updates, taking cute pictures that capture their personality, even just a handwritten note for the owner, those are the things people remember.
It's like that extra mile that turns a one-time thing into, you're the pet sitter, we're calling you back.
Totally. Word of mouth is everything.
That's the truth. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the not-so-glamorous stuff like poop bags and emergency vet runs.
The realities of the job.
Right. But also all the things that make it so rewarding. Hopefully, our listeners are walking away with, a better sense of what it really takes to be a pet sitter.
And who knows, maybe this sparked an idea for someone out there. Maybe you'll be sharing your pet setting wisdom with us someday.
That's what we love to hear. All right, that's a wrap on another deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring those career paths, and remember, your dream job might just involve a furry friend or two. See you in the next one.